Welcome. We're getting ready to go over lessons 113 through 116. So this week's lessons are all focused on coins, on money. I think your kids will enjoy it. I know that my kids, I don't know, kids in general, I think just like learning about money. And remember that fifth day, you can pick out a game. You can, if you have areas that your child, that they could use a little bit more work on, pick a game and focus on that area. Let's go ahead and see what materials will be needed for this week. They'll need their worksheets, coins, math journal, the abacus, math card game book with the money cards, along with the multiplication cards, a geared clock, and a dry erase board. Lesson 113, Coin Problems. So in the last paragraph, it says, show your child a square. But we don't really have that listed in the materials. So you might want to have a square available. You could use one of those square panels from the geometry panels. You could draw a square on a piece of paper, however you want to do it. But when you show your child a square, you're going to ask them, is it a quadrilateral? Is your child going to remember what a quadrilateral is or a parallelogram? Those are some big words. So feel free if you need to kind of direct them through. Does it have four sides? Yes, it does. Oh, well, that's what a quadrilateral is. Quad is four, lateral means sides, four sides. Is it a parallelogram? If they don't know what the word is or don't remember the word, ask, do you see any sides that are parallel to each other? How many? Well, there should be two sets, the sides and then the top and bottom. And that's what a parallelogram is. It's a shape that has two sets of parallel lines. So again, if they don't remember those terms, then break it down for them. So the main objective of this lesson is to understand that there's 100 cents in $1. Then they're going to solve some coin problems. On the second coin problem, on the second page, they're going to use their math journal. They have to figure out ways that they can make 20 cents using pennies, nickels, and dimes. How many different ways? This is one of those things where it might help if they were a little bit organized before they get started. I don't know, or maybe not. You can let them go and see how they do, and then you can come back, or to think through this logically. Some kids will, some kids won't. It doesn't hurt to point it out if they're not. Start with, how many pennies do you need? Then how many nickels do you need? How many dimes do you need? Can you mix pennies and nickels? Pennies and nickels and dimes. Mix nickels and dimes. So there's lots of different ways you can do this. Don't give them the answers, but give them some hints and clues if needed. And then the game for this lesson is Make 16 Cents game, which is found in the math card game book M6. You want to use the math coin cards for this one. Lesson 114, Choosing Coins. This is where the geared clock comes in. They will be using it in the warm-up. On the activity, Finding the Correct Coins, look at the example they give you with the money, and then look at the abacus. Again, I just have to point out that the way the abacus is colored is so helpful in relating the beads to the amount of their value. Even with the nickel, the 5 being on its own, the nickel is 5. It makes it easy to see. Actually, you could look at the abacus and it looks like you could have 4 5s and a penny, or you could have 2 10s and a penny. On the second page, the activity is making 27 cents. Just like the previous lesson where they were finding all the different ways to make 20 cents, they're going to do that again today, making 27 cents. And you may want to start off before they get going to ask them to think about how they want to tackle this. Rather than just jumping in, going crazy, maybe they take a minute or two and really think about how they want to approach solving this problem. And then in worksheet 53, they have an amount, they're going to circle the coins. Now there's an optional part to this worksheet. If you want them to, and this is going to be strictly up to you, or maybe even ask your child if they want to do this, it's optional. They're also going to just add up the total value of coins for each of the rectangles that the coins are in. So the one thing that they do have to do is they have to circle the amount of coins that will equal whatever the amount is in that rectangle that they're saying, like say 23 cents for the first one. But when you add up all the coins in that first rectangle, it's 48 cents. So again, it's optional. Let your child be the one to decide. Lesson 115, counting money with quarters. So one of the activities is they're going to use the abacus to find a quarter of a dollar. The way the abacus is designed, the way it's colored, it pretty much just pops out. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. There's another 25 and another 25 and another. So you can see that there's 4 quarters in 100. And of course with money, they're going to learn that 4 quarter coins equals $1. Love this abacus. Useful for a lot of different concepts. The activity on the second page, counting money, in the explanations, it does say that some children may find it beneficial if you write the value of the coins underneath the coins. And it does focus on asking the child what order to add them in. Is it easier to add a nickel to the quarter, add a dime to the quarter? It's going to vary with each child on what they feel is easier. Then in worksheet 54, make sure you encourage your child when they're doing this to start with the largest coin first. And if it's possible, to add the values mentally. But like always, if they do need to use the abacus, let them use the abacus. Last lesson for this week, lesson 116, using the fewest coins. Look in materials where it's showing the math card game book, and then it says M8, M9, M10. And M9 has an asterisk. If you follow it down to the explanations, it's going to let you know that you could use specific cards from the multiplication envelopes or from the multiplication card deck. And in place of coins, they would use the cards to reach 75. So if you have a child that could use that practice of adding the numbers, go ahead and do that here rather than use the money cards. For the activity on the second page, you're going to use the dry erase board and you're going to write the amount. So your child's going to get familiar with seeing the amount written out. Then you're going to say it also. Then they're going to use their coins to make that amount with the least or the fewest amount of coins they can use. Then it ends with a game out of the math card game book M10 called Make the Amount. This is where I would actually use money. So they're going to have a specific amount of money in front of them, and it tells you exactly which ones they need. Now, I don't always have half dollars laying around my house. That might be something if you want to use, you could go to the bank and ask for some. If not, use the money, the fake money. But for the coins where you have the actual coins, I would use the actual coins. And if you don't want to use coins at all, you can use your money cards. This is really set up to use with the money cards. I just found that it works just as well with the coins. And I like that my kids were using the actual coins rather than the cards. You're going to need the multiplication card deck for this one also. You're going to pick out about 12 to 15 multiplication cards. And then what you do is you set them up. They're the stock. If you look in your math card game book at this lesson, kind of gives you an example. The stock will be the multiplication cards. You're going to flip the top card over. Whatever that number is, that's the amount they're going to have to make with their coins or with their money cards. And this example is using the money cards. Of course, they don't have the actual money drawn on there. They just have it as a D for dime, N for nickel, and Q for quarter, just because it's easier to see what that amount is with those letters rather than if they would have had a picture of a coin on that card. We're done going over another week's worth of lessons. Getting into the money, really just all money. Hopefully it'll be a fun week. Like I said earlier, if you need to strengthen some areas that your children might not be as strong in as you would like them to be, like their addition or subtraction, this is where you could play a game on that 5th day. So next week, we're going to get into a few little things, a little bit of multiplication again, a little bit of division, playing around with the calculator, and then we're going to do some fractions the following week. And basically after that, it's review and assessments, and we're done. So I think the light at the end of the tunnel is getting pretty bright. Keep persevering. Next week, we'll be going over lessons 117 through 120. Till then.